it's been 5 months since the gates of schools, the doors were all shut, of course, due to the COVID-19 pandemic here in Nigeria. Well, for some schools, private especially, they actually took their learning online, virtually, e-platforms. For some of them, it was a continuation of their curriculum, the second term. I think many schools were about ending of the second term, while for some others, it's just lessons. But for government schools, I think many of them weren't actually online, so they missed out a whole lot in this 5 months. Well, online learning, e-learning, education in Nigeria, 5 months going is going to be our discuss on the Medley Show today. My name is Cecil, and you're welcome to the program. Also, not forgetting the fact that WAEC has just actually released a timetable for the beginning of the WAEC examinations, the West African Examination Council examinations. It's to start on August 17, and the government actually asked that these final year students in secondary school actually resume on the 4th of August. How is the preparedness in this regard? This will also be part of our discourse today. So you can send in your comments. Tell us, how has online studies been for you, your children? How have you been managing? Of course, many of the challenges that we found out came out with this, talking about data, talking about so many others. So you might want to share with us some of your challenges with your children being at home. Now, this will happen. We actually had a peep into one of these homes where they have the online lessons. I'm talking about the home of the Oche. We had a chat. We had a chat with some of the children during their course of their online studies, and of course the mother, she lamented her part, but all the same they said it was a good experience. So let's go to the home of the Oche and meet the children, Ifeanyi, Michael, and the other.
To the school portal, I just log into my school portal. If I want to do exam, I go to exam/e-learning and then do the exam. Then when I'm ready to submit, I go through the work, press finish, and when I'm done, I submit.
I take my own test via Google Classroom, and how it works is that when you're on Google Classroom writing your test, but if you want to go to like Chrome and search for an answer, the system says to you, if you leave this app, all your work will be discarded. If you foresee go to Chrome to try and get an answer, once you come back, your work will be there for sure. So if you want to do examination malpractice, isn't going to work for you.
And also, concerning things like WhatsApp and those, if the teacher knows, like the teacher, they have their marking scheme, and also you can put it in your own words. But if it's something like you derive it from the internet, and the teacher finds that all your marks will be discarded,
a person will always want to make contact with others, because friendship is one thing that I've used to gain status in the society. So I miss going to school on a daily basis.
Though the online school is convenient for me, I would rather go to school, because when I go to school, I find it easier to focus than when I'm doing it online. Even though I can go further and then broaden my knowledge further, I still prefer it to learn it while being in contact with others, because it makes it easier for me to learn.
The government may be able to release school for certain classes, obviously not for primary school because it would be too dangerous for them, but maybe for secondary school because we are mature and all that. So how it will be done is like social distancing, one person on one seat, like 3 feet apart from each other, no sharing. I think maybe no going out to go and interact, because my school has like a canteen, like a shop where you can go and buy some snacks for yourself. It's not been easy though in terms of the internet service provider, but of course the children are gaining. That's why we didn't opt out, because I know a lot of parents opted out at some point, but we didn't, because the children are gaining. For the secondary school they did like 1 month free, and the primary school they did like 3 weeks free. I think they were trying to test run the thing, and the moment they got what they wanted, like it was running well and everything, so they placed us in a charge
which of course parents actually negotiated before we reached to an agreement. So we pay monthly for it because they said it's not part of third term, because government said they shouldn't start third term yet. So in fact, I would say that we actually participate in the class, because sometimes the internet is off and on. You need to come and check what they're doing and be sure they're even in the class. They send the homework into the system as well. You need to help them pull it out sometimes if they're having difficulties. So it's a parent, student, teacher thing. All of us are working together.
The peep into the home of the Oche has actually given us a picture of what online studies has been for many of these homes. And we know many of the challenges that they've just enumerated. Their data is also a challenge. Like Mrs. Oche said, it's a parent, children, teacher. They are all in the whole online studies thing. Well, anyhow, I have a parent here with me in the studio. We are going to talk about these and much more. She's even just more than a parent. She's so many others. All right, let's welcome Mary Beth Chima. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're an intentional parenting
enthusiast.
Intentional parenting enthusiast, yeah. and an educator.
Yeah.
Intentional parenting enthusiast. Okay, we'll come back. We'll come to that. Let's quickly talk about the online studies, which actually many have been. Your children must have also been involved in it. Tell us how the experience has been for you.
Anyway, it's because for my children, it's not totally new. I mean, online learning is not totally new for them, because I have been intentional, as I said.
Okay.
So there's always been some level of researching and online introduction, and their school actually does a bit of online, some bit of online, not as intense as it is today. Okay, so for us, it wasn't like so much, but even at that, it's new to the kids, like learning completely online and then taking out completely the interaction, the social interaction between them and the adults, their teachers, their friends, and all of that. And all of this, of course, affects the mental state of the child. So yes, it's we're glad that we had that
option.
That option, exactly. So we're glad we had that options, but we can't take away that it was new and different for the kids. They would actually
sitting at home to go through the studies, there are so many distractions. There's the cartoon to watch, there's the food, there's the laziness. So how does it work for maybe your children and many other children you might have?
Okay, because I work with parents a lot, so I have heard different perspectives. Yes. So my perspective is different from the next person and the next person and the person who does it.
Let's hear some others.
Okay, so some people have had the challenges of even being a part of the whole learning for their children, because they are not used to being a part of their children's learning per se. The kids go to school, they come back, there's a lesson teacher, the lesson teacher does this, and then you just ask, okay, are you done with homework and all that. So the parents have been the ones who remind you to do the work and have not been involved in many cases. So for such parents, it's like just kill me. Do you understand? So for such parents, it's been like, just kill me. So there are the other ones that, have been involved, but all of a sudden it's just too much.
Okay.
Then there's the parents who has to go to work. Okay, I'm at work and all of that. So who is with the child while I'm at work? How do we make sure they're doing it? So there are all of these challenges. Do you get?
But one of the big challenges we actually found out is data, internet connectivity in Nigeria. So our internet regulators, our telecom providers, please help us in this regard. And that has been a burden. And we also know the fact that some schools actually continued with their curriculum, their term, while some others just had it as lessons.
Yeah.
How did it work for your kids?
For my kids, it was complete. It was their curriculum that continued, for their school. Now, I understand that there are some schools that didn't bother with that.
Sorry, for your school, it was their curriculum?
Yes.
So was it compulsory that all parents and children, all children are part of it?
No, it wasn't compulsory.
So?
It wasn't compulsory because, of course, a lot of parents had different... a lot of parents embraced it differently.
Differently, yeah.
Some parents thought it was too much money to pay. I mean, some parents thought, we shouldn't be paying. And of course, because there are different situations. Some schools are just paying 10,000, 2,000, 5,000 and all of that. So it wasn't easy for parents to relate to the fact that some of the schools are paying so little and you still ask us to pay more for some schools. Do you understand? But then again, that's because there's no understanding of what's going on in the learning. I mean, one school is probably just putting in scripts, what do you call it?
Yeah, well, my challenge is that for those parents whose children were not part of this online, and it's part of the curriculum, they've written exams and all that stuff. So what happens to the ones who have not been part of it?
Anyway, I'm not in the school system right now, and I want to believe that schools would have schools will actually have something on ground to work that. But then again, I mean, from Oyo State, we understand that Oyo State is going back. I mean, at least they have spelled it out. They're going back and they are cancelling the whole of third term. So it's going to be divided by 2, right? It's going to be just first and second term and all of that. You know, I have a problem with that. Oh, okay, let's not.
Yeah, you're an educator.
Yes,
you're an
exactly.
Educator. I would like to
because, I mean, there are learning gaps now. There are learning gaps, and these learning gaps are huge. There are milestones and...
and you know, they never really completed second term before the lockdown, right? Yeah, so it's possible they will collapse the whole timeline of the timetable of season 3, third term. They'll collapse the whole third term into the second term and have a rush through.
We would need to know how that will work anyway, so let's not jump to conclusion.
Okay, well, let's watch them.
Yes, let's not jump to conclusion, because if you're saying the whole of third term is gone, it means that learning milestone has been rolled and tossed away. So you're saying that for a child in year 2, when the child gets into year 3, the teacher is going to start from year 2 work and complete it? Is that what you're saying?
Mary Beth, I don't know, it's going to be, well, like you said, let's not jump in. Let's see. They must have a very beautiful plan, and I hope their plan works so that others who are going to learn from it. All right. Exactly. So, but we'll come back to continue the discussion. Let's go to a feature by Sam Ben. He actually met with some others who had virtual learning online. He talked about the learning platforms and the challenges.
With the world seeking for unusual ways of carrying out unusual exercises, it is certain these will come with sets of challenges. Returning to school is still a hard nut to crack. While the lockdown persisted, some schools embraced online technology with students and teachers meeting in the virtual space.
On our course content is to look at the simple sort properties.
It's not been easy, but we thank God. A lot has been happening. For the fact that my school keeps postponing our tests every week because of the online basis. And some of our lecturers haven't really been helpful in the online lectures. They're not used to this new media. So adapting is really hard for them. I know of one lecturer that hasn't given us lecture notes until last week due to the upcoming exams. And all the notes are not even self-explanatory. Because my course is a course that we are meant to be on the field. It's not something that's taught in class, and we can't go out due to the coronavirus pandemic. So it's really not been easy.
The online classes have been fine. There were a few mishaps with data and network messing up and all that, but online classes have been fine and good, and the tests, we are able to cope with them.
Though parents and guardians are happy that their studies have continued for their children and wards, the burden of data purchase may have some holes in their pockets.
I spend about 3,000 naira every day for the online lectures they have. And apart from my child, that is the other, they are dependent. I send money to who are at home and who must take their classes, who must do the virtual lectures, and as it is now, they are preparing for the exams. So it has not been easy.
So for a parent that has, like me, that have 4 children, I have to provide these gadgets for these online classes. Now coming to the data, it's actually post sapien.
About money. You buy computer, you buy data. Sometimes when they use the data, before you know it, they say the data is finished, and you keep on buying data. So it is also making the purse of the parents to be porous. It's something something you do not even plan for. During the pandemic lockdown, which came to us, by surprise. We were head bent at looking for what they will eat, how to sustain them during the period. Talking about buying that again for online school or online learning, it causes a lot of pain to the parents.
With parents clamoring for a return to school for better learning, amongst other reasons, it is hoped that Nigerians can stand together against COVID-19 so that Nigeria can flatten the curve and students can return to school.
Portability, problem of documentation, problem in coordination of work of different people.
All right, everyone wants to get back to school, at least, majority would like to get back to school. So tell us, what's your opinion? What do you think about the 5 months of lockdown and, the partial or maybe gradual reopening because of the WAEC? Maybe, who knows, after the WAEC exercise, maybe the government may think, okay, I think they should just remain and let's see how others can come in. From that feature we've just said, data has been a major challenge. Mary Beth, that has not been a challenge for you.
No, why not? I'm a Nigerian.
Since your children have always been online, tell us, how has it been for you?
The truth is, apart from the fact that paying for the data is trouble, it's a challenge. There's also the challenge of it's even being effective. You can actually pay for the data and it's a drag, and you don't even get value for what you've paid for in many cases. At some point, we've had to change from one router to the other and to yet another. And, we've all been talking about online, and we're talking about those who are learning. We've forgotten that those who are actually learning are just about below 10% of our children that are actually doing any form of learning.
For those online, 10% are actually learning, or...
I'm not even saying 10%. Below 10% are those who are even...
Amongst the numbers already online.
It's just about... It's below... I believe it's below even 10% who are even doing any form of learning. We have the majority of our children not even having any form of e-learning and all of that.
Okay.
Yes.
No, you're talking about those who actually have access to being on this. That brings me to my next next question. And maybe many of those fall into those in government schools.
Yeah, government
not
schools.
Not just government schools. Some others in some parents who might not be so financially stable to actually pay for this, and I understand that they also pay some stipends to the school, some percentage to the school. So amongst this, how do you think they can fit in? Because truth be told, these children online have actually gone ahead in terms of understanding, learning ahead of the others. And when the school resumes, how do you think these others can cope?
The truth is, a lot of times we are always focused on the problem. It is what it is. There's so much that we could do differently, that we could have done differently as a nation. There's so much that we could do differently even at this point. However, if the government is not making this happen, I have said to parents before, and I will say it again, be the local government of your child's education. Parents must be involved. That's the truth. If we sit and we continue to hammer on the excuses and hammer on the fact that some other person is not doing what they're supposed to do, we will be shortchanging these children. And hey, except you're actually grooming a child who's going to be competing at a local level. If it's for an international standard you want for your child, then as parents we must go out and do something.
Let's be a little more realistic. Let's speak for the many others who many parents are not so educated, both parents and their children have to go to school and they cannot have access to these platforms. So somehow they need to, how can those parents, for instance, do something.
Yeah.
You know, you've mingled with parents. You're an educator. You liaise with them
Parents,
a whole
yeah.
lot of time.
Yeah. Okay, truth is, as I said, we hang on the excuses more than we try to do something. If you go out on the streets and take statistics, you will find that on the average, 9 out of 10 Nigerians have some sort of an Android phone. My security man, I don't know of other people, but my security man actually has an Android phone, and a lot of times he's watching videos on something. Do you understand? Now, there are a lot of platforms that have, international platforms that have all these learning materials that parents can actually access. So yes, your child cannot go to school. You don't have some learning platform, that the school or the government has provided, but you can have some access if you decide to be deliberate, if you decide to be intentional. So go ahead and look for some of those so that your child can actually practice. Now, it's structure. Let me come there, Cecil. It's actually structure that is the point. We need to learn as parents to build structures in our home. If we have structures in our homes, then we would stop making the excuses and we will begin to build on those structures. And learning doesn't always have to be just math and English. There's so many other, there's so many other things that you can just stop as a parent and begin to build on why this other part is not available.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, I get you. Well, I believe, because this is the way it's going to be now, because the truth be told is that after all this is over, online education will still be there.
It will be. That's come to stay.
Later on in the program, we'll see. I had a chat with a proprietor of a school, and she said that even when they get back to regular learning, they have plans for dual...
blended learning.
Yeah, blended learning. That's what she calls it. All right. And during the course of the lockdown, the students alone have not actually, and parents have not been the only ones actually complaining or maybe having a little challenges. Yeah, it comes with its many pluses, online learning, yes. But for the teachers who actually many would say they have been rendered jobless, while for some others who are lucky to be part of the online training for their schools, they are being paid some stipends. I understand it's for maybe for their data mostly, not like a salary. So they actually don't get the regular salary. I caught up with one of the private school teachers in one of the private schools here in Abuja, Stella Negedu, and actually went into her home, a small apartment, and she actually took me through how she manages her the online studies for the children, and how the lockdown has taught her very great lessons. And let's hear from this private school teacher, Stella Negedu.
It took a very long while for me it dawned on me that there was no reopening anytime soon, and I began to get really worried for my children. But when the lockdown kept increasing, we realized that there was a need for the children to actually go into what they call a proper learning. It works in two forms. We have what they call the Google Classroom, where classwork is you put in materials for learning. For instance, you want to teach a topic, let's say on verbs. If I want to teach a topic on verbs, and then I need to upload the materials I want the children to learn with. For instance, I give them notes, or probably I now upload videos where verbs is properly explained on the Google Classroom. And I also upload pictures where they can look at this thing and it makes sense to them. I can also do a video of myself explaining those things to them and upload it on the Google Classroom. Then after all the explanations you do, then you have a portion where you have classwork. You ask some questions to ascertain that they have really followed the lessons. And then we have what they call the Zoom classroom. For instance, if I'm going to have my class by 11 a.m., I expect all the children to be there by 11 a.m. I welcome them, I begin to receive them into the classroom, and we do our usual pleasantries and begin to ask questions based on the topic that I posted in the Google Classroom. They ask their questions, I ask them questions, I show them more videos and do a further explanation. But one thing you can't be certain about is the fact that the child who is giving you a feedback via online classes, sometimes you can't be pretty sure the child did these things on their own. School fees is not being paid by parents any longer, it's on hold. So this time around, parents are only paying for like a stipend, a monthly team just to support the teachers, to support myself, you know, in this line. What I've actually do is the handwork I've learned in the past, making hair, doing foot mat. I've tried to do those things to augment my income. Lockdown period, the pandemic has really opened my eyes as a teacher to the fact that you don't need one stream of income. You need other streams of income so that in case of things like this, a case like this, I will have something to fall back on.